When posed with the question, did WWE botch the women's revolution slash evolution, however you want to put it, when posed with that question, the first thing that comes to my mind is the word balance. Balance is so crucial in anything, be that wrestling, be that just general life, day-to-day functioning. You need a healthy balance. Balance is crucial, and that is going to be the overriding theme of this video. Balance is going to be the overriding answer to this question, did WWE botch the women's revolution? And let me explain. You might be listening to this thinking, what do you mean by balance? You're just going to ramble about nothing for the rest of this video? No. What this video is a clear, divisive, line in the sand almost, and message to WWE that how the women's revolution has been handled has been near enough anything but balance. The women's revolution, let's look at it objectively. WWF as well, but WWF/E in the late 1990s, early 2000s, utilized women objectively as pure eye candy. The matches we got were bra and panties matches, you had pillow fights, you had women mud wrestling. Essentially, the female empowerment was coming from, look how stunning the women are, let's look at them take their clothes off. That's basically what women's wrestling was. Now, objectively, the ratings that did were obscene and through the roof and insane, but nonetheless, from an empowerment perspective, which is what the women's revolution ultimately is about, completely, that wasn't the most empowering to women when all women's wrestling is that. Totally get it. Then we transition through Ruthless Aggression and we go into the PG era, and the real Divas era begins. And I can't stress to you guys, if you weren't watching the Divas era and you weren't watching WWE from about 2009 through 2014, oh my god, dude. Oh my god. I mean, holy crap. Like, watching Lay Cool feud with Natalya and Beth Phoenix for like 2 years, seemingly, just so bad. Just so bad. And like, I mean, do we need to see Cameron challenging AJ Lee at a pay-per-view for the Divas title? Like, all this stuff. Like, the Divas matches were just bathroom breaks. That's objectively what they were. That's how WWE treated them. That's what WWE did with the women's matches. Then, February 23rd, 2015, we get a hashtag trend. Hashtag give Divas a chance. This trends as a result of the Bella Twins versus Paige and Emma in a tag match on Raw. Keep in mind, a 3-hour show. That match goes 30 seconds, and Twitter, the ever-empowered crowd that Twitter is, freaked. Hashtag give Divas a chance trended. People were freaking out. People were, going off their head about it. And there was a basis for that. Is it really right that women, regardless of how they're presented on the show, are getting literally about a couple of minutes on a 3-hour show? I mean, Raw's not good enough. And the men's talent in WWE, especially in early 2015, was nowhere near good enough to where that's the case, and that the men's talent was just so much better than the women's talent. So there needed to be some sort of balance there. There needed to be some sort of blend and balance, and just that needed to be weighed out more. So as a result, WWE, they do what WWE do best. They turn into a marketing machine. WWE bring in Charlotte Flair, and they bring in more Charlotte Flair, and we get more Charlotte Flair, and alongside that, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and then Bayley in 2016. WWE bring them in, and really at this point, I mean, yes, we had a few years of AJ Lee and Paige, I guess carrying and beginning the revolution, and all I associate with that time period was just AJ Lee roasting the Total Divas cast. But nonetheless, we get the 4 horsewomen. They run the division for several years. Essentially, we get a bunch of women's firsts featuring the 4 horsewomen, featuring your Money in the Banks, your Hell in a Cells, your first ever WrestleMania this, first ever WrestleMania main event, first ever women's match in Saudi Arabia, first ever women's Iron Man match, etc., etc. I don't need to name all the women's first. Point is, WWE go balls to the wall, balls deep. I'll stop saying balls, sorry about that. But yeah, WWE go balls deep with pushing women's wrestling as though it is the bee's knees. WWE put the marketing machine up the backside of the women's revolution and skyrocketed it to the moon. This thing was insane. Okay, women's wrestling and women's just generally wrestling WWE, the only way you could even go about beginning to want to thrive in WWE women's wrestling in the second half of the 2010s and early 2020s is if you were a great, empowered, bell-to-bell technician who can do everything the men can do. That's the simplest way I can put it. And an element of that is absolutely needed. Yes, young girls worldwide need some superhero-like representation. But there's a thing called balance. If you guys saw my What If Shane McMahon Took Over WWE video, I have much the same sentiments in this video as I did in that one surrounding the women's revolution. Women in WWE, for the better part of the last 5 to 7 years, have been presented in a way to where if you are a diva, so to speak, Eva Marie, you're treated like you are the second coming of Satan, that you have no place in WWE, that you're setting the women's evolution back 15 years merely by your presence. And I think the fact that that's a reality is a downright joke. I think the fact that WWE cannot find and have not been able to find a balance with the women's evolution and revolution over the past 7 years, I think that's a joke. Now, granted, how WWE have handled women in the past 5 to 7 years, as opposed to 2008 through 2013, much better. They're getting TV time. We've got actually notable star-like wrestlers. Your 4 Horsewomen, you've got Asuka, you've got, need I say more, Belair, etc., etc. So, in that regard, WWE have handled the women much better in the past 5 to 7 years. But that said, where is the balance? If you're not an empowered, larger-than-life, in-ring, bell-to-bell, superhero-like wrestler, someone like, I guess you say like a Sasha Banks almost, because she's like the best in-ring women's wrestler there is. If you're not like that, then, I mean, what's really the point? Because here's how I want to put it. I think this statement I'm about to make is near enough as objective as I can put it. In modern-day women's wrestling, the women's division for WWE, women are, by far, no doubt about it, much better actors than men are. When it comes to the segments and when it comes to just general acting, women are the best actors in the promotion. I look at someone like Alexa Bliss. Now, I made the video about her Fiend Bliss gimmick. There's a lot of conjecture with that gimmick specifically. I'm not going to talk about that gimmick much in this video. Point is, her acting is incredible. And there's a lot of that throughout the women's division. Acting's really good. But when it comes to the in-ring side of things, outside of a Sasha Banks, for the most part, the in-the-ring stuff... Look, in-ring wrestling, men, women, transgender, whatever, what have you, in-ring wrestling is not a draw. It never was. There's a reason why, when ratings are at their absolute highest, the matches at longest were 1 segment long. Long matches drive away people, because people know the moves they're doing, I mean, some real, some really hurt, but they're predetermined matches. The moves they're saying, it's pretty much like watching a circus gymnastics act. So the in-ring element isn't the bee's knees, isn't the end-all be-all. So we transition that to the women's revolution agenda, and if men are, outside of a couple of women like Sasha Banks, executing these fake moves, quote-unquote, fake moves, much better and much more crisp, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, than women, the whole in-ring empowerment side of things isn't really there, and as a result, your whole revolution, the balance is gone, the real point of difference is gone, and it's like, oh, well, WWE are just pushing women the exact same way. WWE pushing women as though they're men. And is there an equality there? Definitely, to an extent. There's much more equality there with that than there was 10 years ago when we had 30-second women's matches. Absolutely, no doubt about that. But there's no balance. There's no variety. There's no... here's my biggest issue with the Revolution. Well, actually, yeah, well, 2 things. For one, the biggest issue I have, the fact that someone like Eva Marie, and just generally any diva, is told, you're setting the Revolution back 15 years. I'm sorry, the Revolution should not just be, if you're not a great, empowered, in-ring, bell-to-bell, work rate athlete, technician, empowered superhero woman, if you're not that, you have no place here. That's a terrible way of thinking. Not every young girl, not every woman wants to grow up idolizing to be a great in-ring, bell-to-bell technician. Okay? Some women like to see women being presented as stunning, attractive, powerful females. Am I saying that women's wrestling needs to be what it was 23 years ago? Absolutely not. But I'm saying there's a healthy balance there that WWE have not cracked at all in the past 7 years. WWE went from totally one side, women can only do bra and panties matches and be eye candy, and now they're complete polar opposite side of the spectrum. Now it's, you must be an empowered in-ring, bell-to-bell technician female, and if you're not that, you have no place and you're blacklisted like Eva Marie. Where's the balance? Where's the middle ground, WWE? Where is it? Where's the mix of women who are genuinely stunning and attractive, being able to show that off in a way that isn't degrading? Where's the mix of that with your superhero empowerment, women getting the first? Where's the mix? There is none. So that really is my biggest issue with the women's revolution. WWE, with the women's revolution in 2018, at the end of the year in early 2019, the women were the best thing going on the show. Okay, women, the fact that the Women's Royal Rumble didn't main event the 2019 Rumble show, the fact that Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch were exponentially better than anything the men had going at that time period. Women's wrestling in that specific time period, road to WrestleMania 35, best thing going in the company. Then it's just, without Ronda there, there's just the empowerment side of things and the fact that, oh, the women can do things better than it. It doesn't click. So the point of this video, there needs to be a balance. Okay, and also one other point I want to really quickly make. If you saw Elite Heat episode 25, you'll get this point, but nonetheless, can I just call out really quickly to end this video the hypocrisy? How is it that Liv Morgan posts pictures from a photo shoot on her Twitter, and the things said in the comments are just so revolting, just downright incel-like comments, just gross, just pure simpage, disgusting, vile comments, just objectifying Liv Morgan, for example. But yet, when Raw Underground has 3 dancers who are being paid handsomely to appear on an international TV show, showcasing a craft they presumably love, getting eyeballs and attention on them, when WWE does that for 30 seconds on Raw Underground, that is horrible. WWE are objectifying women. How dare they? Cancel it, shut it down. But all the simpage and disgusting behavior is fine when women are posting pictures on social media. Interesting. So that's an observation I want to make. In real quick summary, the women's revolution in WWE has lacked all sorts of balance really over its history. WWE have never really been able to crack balance. Impact Wrestling, TNA, did this really well like a decade ago with the knockouts. They nailed balance with that. And WWE have just not been able to do that at all. So that's been the video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like, comment, sub, you know the drill. See ya.